We all know that when batters rise, Uthappa is what results.
I think we have peaked.
TV umpire to director, we have a player review. Can we rock and roll, please?
What's common to Dinesh Karthik, Irfan Pathan, and this episode of Bits and Pieces? Well, for one, those two are fun, enjoyable commentators who stand out from the crowd, much like this podcast, which stands out too, but mostly because we've been naughty in class. But also, Irfan and Dinesh are 37 years old this year, and our podcast is 37 episodes old this week. I am Nitin Sundar, and along with my friends, here we are bringing you episode 37 of this wonderful podcast. To introduce the first panelist for the day, I'm going back in time to 2007 when India were playing a nondescript ODI against West Indies. Jerome Taylor was the bowler. MS Dhoni was on strike. It was the death overs. Mid-wicket was back. Long on was deep. Mid-off was in. Square leg was on the fence. The over rate was bad. You would have expected a Yorker on leg stump, cramping him for room. But Dhoni knew better. He spotted the double bluff, lined up for a slow length ball, wide of off stump, went deep into his crease, and hoisted it with a helicopter shot. Bam! Deep over long off for 6. How did Dhoni anticipate the length so well, you may ask? Well, because the helicopter man, the chopper, knows. Say hello, chopper.
Oh my god.
Too much.
Too good.
What setup?
Say hello, chopper. No, Abhishek Chopra, how have you been?
I have been good. I've been good. Thank you. This is quite something. Thank you.
I think
Did that match actually
proud.
happen? Did that match actually happen? I'm not sure.
There is no way for you to disprove that this
That's the problem.
Nitin is doing everything he can to end Chopper Nose's streak.
Normally, these intros are done by Tony Sebastian, who does intros as a service. And we thought we will do Tony a service this week. So we have 2 intros for Tony. Abhishek Chopra has his own intro. So over to you, Chopper Nose. Please introduce Tony Sebastian to our listeners.
Wow.
Okay, here's my lame attempt. A man who loves crosswords as much as Sanju Samson's cross-batted shots. His puns are as delicious as Muska plus bun. He's going to be knighted by Australia soon because he's the only neutral person in the world who supports them in Anzac rivalries. Every time Australia beat New Zealand in cricket, a new film is made in the series called Tony Inte Pratikaram. Even though he doesn't have the toss advantage, he does have the TAS advantage. He has actually mastered the art of word engineering so much so that some of India's premier engineering colleges are now called Indian Institutes of Tony and National Institutes of Tony. Wait, there's more. WTC is actually called World Tony Championship, and that's how New Zealand ended up winning it.
Wow.
There's that meme of the husband sleeping by himself on one side of the bed and the wife thinking about how the husband is probably thinking of other partners. Anushka knows that in Virat's case, he's thinking of Tony. And you can even see now that Tony's head is bobbling in affirmation. The total talent in Tony is what's generally present in millions of MBAs put together, so much so that the year in which IIM Kozhikode decided to give him the Distinguished Alumnus Award, it was called the Distinguished Alumni Award. His middle name is actually Neville, and his general presence on any episode packs so much power that it's equivalent to the power of 10 cars, or 10 car, or car does.
Oh my god.
Like, how is he going to bring Cardas into this?
If I have to put it in a simplified manner, when the world says Tony, we Sebastian.
Oh, amazing.
I think Chops, that play on words deserves a Tony on its own.
Like I said, we have 2 intros for Tony, but the second intro is
He's taking batting from both ends. Like, what is this?
Yeah.
After 5 balls, he changed the ends. Here goes, intro number 2. This person needs no introduction, and I mean that literally, since he's the person who does mind-blowing intros on this show. He's also famous as the co-host of the famous podcast Simplified, but on Bits and Pieces, he will simplify it. If you claim that New Zealand is a good team, or he will simply confide if you just know how much he loves Sanju Samson. This Sebastian is no Vettel, but he is still fast and crisp with his puns and insights. This Tony is no soprano, But his mellifluous intros in his beautiful voice make the Mallu listeners go, Ellam Sugamano. Welcome to episode 37, Tony Sebastian. That's all the intros you're getting for the rest of the year, by the way.
I mean, wow. Thank you. Chops, thank you, Nitin.
I think if there is the equivalent of commentator's curse for this podcast, Tony is permanently cursed at this point.
You mean he's now the Sanjay Manjrekar of this podcast. Truly the bits and pieces. Our next panelist does not use a OnePlus phone. After all, he lives in Seattle and their tagline is Never Seattle. Well, a lot of us poke fun at Greg Chappell, Ravi Shastri, Rahul Dravid and the value they bring to the team. This guy is a huge fan of all trains, trainers and coaches. They say cartography is the study and practice of making and using maps. So here he is, cartographer. And as Vivek eloquently said in Minale, ido vantar parya map poda. Hello Karthik, say hello to our listeners.
To complete the tribute to Vivek, hi.
I think you guys say room poti use changalo, like this is map poti use changalo level, like if you take it.
Rounding off the panel, we have another podcast specialist. It is Kaus, who is an audiophile, by which I don't mean he is a .wav or a .mp3, but he is a WAV. Okay, we could keep cracking bad Kaus jokes until the cows come home, but let's stop. Hello Kaus, welcome to the podcast and say hello.
Last intro was very fountain, no? Very clearly. Like.
Yeah, you showed up last minute without any warning. What did you expect?
Anyway, hi guys. Here to discuss all the cricket that I have not seen, which is all of it over the last week. What has happened? I have no idea.
But you've been two-timing on bits and pieces, like slyly professionally hosting podcasts for ESPN Cricket for and all that.
I know.
Yes, I honed my skill here. This is how I upskilled during the pandemic here on this podcast.
Yeah, but you've gone from fellow panelists Fidel Fernando, Osman, and Sid Monga to us. So I'm not sure what upskilling is happening. So.
He's upskilling us. We have been spoken of in the same breath as those guys, at least by ourselves. So.
His podcast career is going like KL Rahul at this point in time.
At least you know on bits and pieces that the noise levels on the podcast will always be high. It won't be upskilling me softly. So
noise levels on this podcast will always be high because munde baro lauda.
I was just wondering how long it took to crack both Lucknow Super Giants and a KL Rahul reference after I've come on it literally in like the first minute. So
we've been holding them back for you, my friend. We've been holding them back.
No, but he's also not done
like
anything.
Your intro was phoned in, but all of this has been rehearsed. Like
it's called casual carelessness. In a week which has been a throwback in so many ways. Firstly, the Indian team is going to be bleeding in powder blue as they did back in the 90s. The new World Cup jersey is being launched in bits and pieces, much like our podcast. And indications are that they are going back to a lighter shade of blue. But there is more that suggests that we are back in the 90s. Indian fast bowling is in bad shape again. Jasprit Bumrah is on a long break. Bhuvneshwar Kumar has struggled in the death overs. Mohammad Shami is down with COVID and is being replaced by Umesh Yadav, who himself has a quadriceps injury. 90s nostalgia. Let's get down to business, guys, and let's start with the jersey. Are we all looking
forward? Can I say hashtag bring back Srishant?
Legends. Or what Maharajas, I should say.
What Kerala agenda? Is it the Samson or Srishant or like what next? We're going to bring back next.
Abe Kuruvilla.
Kuruvilla. I was about to think Kuruvilla's next.
Harvinder Singh.
Yusuf Yohanan. Yes. No, so interesting trivia about powder blue jerseys, guys. I have a question for you. Do you guys remember when India first played with these dark blue jerseys, leaving aside the 80s, etc., or the 92 World Cup? But in the 90s, right, throughout the 90s, they had powder blue and all the way into the late into the 2000s. And then they switched to dark blue sometime in the second half of the 2000s. Can you guys tell me which was the first game they played with dark blue?
Was it the knockout tournament? 2000 mein?
No, not the ICC knockout. No, not that.
That was all light blue.
You're talking about the dark blue with orange.
Correct. Basically the dark blue, right? After, you know the Titan Cup, the 96 World Cup, the NatWest, etc. was the light blue era, right? All the way up to the 2007 World Cup and beyond. At some point after that, they switched to dark blue.
Is this Virat
We'll
Kohli's
say
debut
2007 World Cup.
2007 World Cup was also light blue, as was the 2007 T20 World Cup.
I mean, 2007 World Cup, they weren't there long enough for us to see what shade of blue it was, but
No, but even the T20 World Cup was
Yeah,
Yes,
the
yes.
same, it
Yes,
was the
yes.
same kit,
Correct.
more or
of
less.
course.
Yeah, so this is the...
Not Virat Kohli's debut then.
this
no,
was
they
the
had
match.
They had already changed to dark blue by then.
2008, they changed.
So that's an interesting point. Virat Kohli has actually never played in light blue for India. He'll be playing in light blue for the first time because they had already switched to dark blue by the time he made his debut, I think. Or maybe I might be wrong. Anyway, the first match where they played in dark blue was, I think, by the way, the series in New Zealand.
If you say
Interesting
so.
trivia.
Can't even,
My-
even Stats Guru can't verify
Even
this.
Stats Guru doesn't have.
Pretty much.
So this was the one-day series in New Zealand where there was this famous game where Yuvraj and Sachin took the power play in the 21st or 22nd over. And
If you say so, man, I don't remember shit.
this is that series where Jesse Ryder scored very heavily as well. India won that series and they also won the test series because they won one test match and Gautam Gambhir saved them from losing another test match. So that was the
Napier,
start of
yeah.
the dark blue streak. Yeah. So
Also, I mean, Kohli is feeling a little less blue these days, so I mean, follows from that.
but are we
like,
looking forward to
I-
light blue, guys? Kaus
I-
had some
Yes.
opinions on this jersey reveal.
The era of sky blue is here.
No, like couple of things. Firstly, just reveal the damn thing, man. Like what, like pre-buzz.
It's sounding like
post-buzz.
uncles who go for belly dance, man.
Reveal the damn thing.
No, my point is like all of them have clearly worn the jersey if you see the promos, but they have got the Byju's jacket on top of that, right? Like which is like covering most of it up, so you can't see the actual color. But like thoda it is
It is
sticking
a
out.
tribute to Byju's that they'll reveal it much later.
Also, Byju's is dealing with an expose already. It'll take a while.
Oh!
Yeah, no. So like, firstly, I'm like just show it, man. Everybody knows what it is at this point. Everybody knows what jersey color it is. Like, might as well show it. Second thing, are they doing everything they can to try and win a World Cup outside of selecting the right squad? Like, you know what? We last won one in this jersey. We will get it. Chalo.
Here's my thing about the jersey. It's probably going to be like a redux of something like the 2003 jersey minus the zebra stripes and all that stuff. What I really want is powder blue or sky blue, but with the yellow as well. Like that is the classic India.
Basically, you want Lucknow Super Giants jersey. Just say that, bro. What is that?
With double scales, full double scales.
This is the Wills one, 99 World Cup, na? 99 World Cup.
99 World Cup. I love the 99 World Cup.
99 was good, or I'm even willing to settle for the 85, World Series cricket one. You know, the ones with the yellow bar in the middle and the
Italicized text.
Italicized
cursive,
as well.
cursive handwriting. Yeah.
But anyway, I think the sky blue and the yellow went really well. They never went back to that after, I guess, mid 90s. I think 96 World Cup was the changing point, no?
No, 99 also had the
Well, yeah,
yellow backs.
99. Yeah, 99 was an exception because they had the big stars in yellow and stuff. But yeah,
And the jersey is still being made by MPL, who obviously are experts in making jerseys. Why are weird companies making jerseys? Why don't they just go to Nike again?
Interestingly, 99 I think was the last World Cup in which the kit supplier was allowed to design their own jerseys, which is why, I mean, for
Yeah,
me,
that was
99 is
beautiful,
99
right?
is the best World Cup. kit for
Everything
every
had a
single
different.
team.
Yeah, everyone had a stylized thing which was different. Like they had a different.
The most beautiful jerseys, yeah. The quality of the material used, every team, brilliant jerseys. And you were still in the era where people were wearing oversized jerseys, so which has its own charm. Now you
With
have,
the
like,
shirt tucked in or tucked out. It's very important.
Gavaskar will remember. Yeah, but I mean, I think the blue is the sky blue or the light blue is the color that India should have never given up on. I mean, the rest of it, whatever variations they've tried, they've. I mean, it's not worked well in terms of winning or whatever, but it's also something that. I mean, just too much Sri Lanka with the dark blue. I mean, I get 1996 vibes all over again. So yeah, I mean, light blue is the way to go. Thankfully, I mean, hopefully they'll design it well because MPL, I mean, doesn't know shit when it comes to jersey designing or whatever. It's going to look ugly for sure.
too much Sri Lanka is not a problem you will solve just by changing jersey color though, because they are going to continue to play Sri Lanka every week. That is not going to change.
Yeah, that's true.
No, I don't think they will now. Given like they won the Asia Cup and all. Like, Sri Lanka are not minnows anymore. So like I think they'll call West Indies over at this point and like do like
Bangladesh.
3-4 series
So
with them.
I have a question. So did they do away with the whole home and away jersey experiment after 2019? Like in the 2019 World Cup, famously there was at least there was the away
Away
jersey,
kit, really?
away kit, which was all orange
Yeah,
for
the
India.
orange one.
Yeah.
India
And then-
versus England match.
I think every team had they had an alternate.
every team had.
Yeah, they had
Australia still has that.
for a lot of people, green and gold, right? Those are the classic Aussie colors. And if you notice, like in the indigenous inspired kit now, black is quite prominent. I don't know if it's black or a dark green. I think it actually is black. So I think a lot of people don't like the introduction of that third color.
It's a good
They
kit
could
though.
do
It
all
looks
those
quite nice.
designs on green and gold as well. I mean,
Yeah, they should. I mean, they should go back to what is it? We've talked about this in the past, where Carlton and United, the year that they had Australia and Australia A, and they had the inverted Australian kit. That was beautiful. Yeah.
England and Australia both have different kits for T20s and ODIs. Right? India has the same kit for all white ball.
Yeah. Right.
Even
How did
Pakistan
India
has
end
a-
up with blue though? Like, what's the origin of that? I mean, I'm glad it's not saffron, but like,
The question's not just how did we end up with blue. I think the question is how do we end up with sky blue? Like at least like the dark blue makes sense if you say the wheel in the middle of the chakra in the middle of the flag and stuff. But
The
sky
wheel is
blue,
actually neither sky blue nor dark blue, right? It is somewhere in between, isn't it? I don't know.
No, I
it's
mean,
darker. It's like navy blue or whatever. Somebody
So
is going to
coloured
not
kits-
allow me to enter India again. My passport will be impounded. Huh? Sorry,
your
go ahead.
chakras will have to be realigned.
no, so colored kits started with Packer, and I mean the first.
Yeah, but
allocated
India never
colours-
played in
Yeah,
one of those
yeah.
Packer era things, right? India, the
Yeah,
first
no.
one I can remember is the World Series of Cricket 84 after
Yeah,
the
sometime the early 80s.
84 85, the winter of 84 85, or the Australian summer of.
So I think the only thing that would have determined the color, I mean, we can probably try and read up on this, but I mean, it was probably by elimination. Australia and England already had colors, or Pakistan were, probably given green because of the flag. And who were
But
the
no,
other
right?
teams? West
No,
Indies
but-
had pink earlier, and then it was maroon, which was
No, there's one way to find this out, right? And I have a feeling that the Indian hockey teams used to wear the
Yeah,
sky blue as well, like in the whatever the
That would
50s,
be a good
60s.
one, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll have to go even further back then, right?
Will our Olympics team have a kit?
Yeah, and by
March
Olympics,
past or something.
by extension, hockey, right? Because especially
Correct.
like
it is
in
the one
the
sport where
50s
the
and
center
60s.
team that used
Yeah.
to do well.
But is there? I mean, do football kits and colors also go further back, right? I mean, of course they do.
Yeah, of
Maybe
course.
there's something there. So football also.
We didn't have shoes. That's the
We didn't have
trivia.
shoes.
Nobody knows whether they had color because broadcast was in black and white.
I just want to say, like, on the last episode of Simplified, we were talking about DALL-E and AI and all, and how the next sort of wave is not going to be artists, but people who can create prompts, right?
prompt
Because, like,
engineering.
the AI can do everything. Basically, this is Bits and Pieces is that podcast where we don't come in with any research, but like throw out all the prompts for
In fact,
people
one
to
of our
work on.
episodes should just be describing the DALL-E output that we have been looking at on the WhatsApp group. We'll save that for another day when we actually don't have content. This is how you
Yeah,
make
I
it seem
mean-
like today we have content.
Which is like every week.
So it is Nostalgia Week, as we said. We spoke about the powder blue jerseys. It is also Nostalgia Week because of interesting rule changes that are being brought into the Syed Mushtaq Ali Trophy T20s by the BCCI. The BCCI has come up with the idea of an impact player, which is a throwback to the super sub rule that we had very briefly in ODIs in the mid 2000s, I think, and it was very quickly then wound up. Quickly for our readers, what is the scope of the impact player substitute rule? Along with the starting 11, teams will be able to name 4 substitutes in their team sheet at the toss and use one of the 4 during the match. The player can replace any member of the starting 11 at any point before the end of the 14th over of either innings and will be able to bat and bowl his full allotment of overs. The tactical scope of the impact rule is vast, with no real restriction on the role he can play. For example, the impact player can replace a batter who has already been dismissed and still get to bat as long as the team only uses 11 batters. Or he could replace a
Can
bowler
you replace hitters or only batters?
Or he could replace a bowler who has already set down a few overs and still get to bowl his full 4-over quota. Thoughts, guys, on impact player?
They should call this the Kamal Hassan rule, because clearly all 10 players can be replaced by Kamal Hassan.
All 11.
This is
in
just
fact.
setting up to a state where Sanju Samson fans will now be hoping that he'll at least be brought on as an impact player if it happens in international cricket.
But Macha, he needs to be an impact player for that, no?
Below the
Famously, Yuzvendra Chahal already did this in Australia when Jadeja had a concussion in the hamstring.
India are the pioneers of this move, right?
He got hit on the head and his hamstring went bad. What does it tell you about Jadeja?
India are so far ahead that our impact players will be injured in place of the other players also, like what they're doing now with Umesh Yadav and Shami.
What is
So
the
now
point
you
of
can-
this
you
rule?
can
Guys? They
name-
basically made it a 12 versus 12 sport, right? Because you
No,
effectively
only
that's what it is.
11 people can bat. No.
True, but yeah, so your tailender won't bat, but your tailender can show up later and bowl. So you effectively, if you have Yuzvendra Chahal, for example, you can have him in your starting 11 and not have him bat, right?
Like first thing, like, this is first I want to say, is this copying BBL or is BBL copying 2000s cricket? I'm not sure which came first. They have the X Factor player, right, where the player can come in and bowl I think 2 overs. There are limitations there to make sure the abuse that you're talking about can't happen, right? Like he can't come. You can't use an impact sub in the last 5 overs of a match. It has to happen near the 10th over.
Reading from the Cricinfo piece, the X Factor rule says that the substitution can happen at the 10 over mark, and the person being replaced could not have already batted or bowled more than 1 over. Okay, could not have already batted or bowled more than 1 over. It's a very weird thing. That seems more like you got it wrong at the toss and you feel that you now know more about the conditions and you want to bring a different type of player in. Whereas the Syed Mushtaq Ali thing literally is just, you basically have 12 players now, and if you're smart enough, you will get the goodness of a batsman who can't field or bowl, as well as a bowler who comes in later and bowls his full quota.
There was this great tweet, right? Like, we will get, like, it's amazing for RCB. They will get Faf to captain for the first 20 overs and then they'll sub him out so that a good batter can come in. Like, I think it's set up for these meme teams like that.
Meme team.
Yeah, but it doesn't extend to the IPL now. Right?
No, but they're trialing it in SMAT to then probably take it to the IPL too. I mean, if it works well, they'll take it to IPL.
Oh, what will this do to fantasy leagues then?
I mean, fantasy leagues will just treat things as 12-person games from now on, right? That's just the way that you name a 12-man squad.
Who was the first substitute? Vikram Solanki, no?
Vikram Solanki, yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah.
In fact,
this was I was expecting interesting trivia from Nitin.
the best risks in England.
Interesting story about Vikram Solanki.
No, actually, what I remember of the Super Sub role was Venugopal Rao's career, if any of you remember him. He was perennially the Super Sub for India and never did well, unfortunately. He would always come in for Zahir Khan after Zahir had bowled and he would get out for a duck and go back also.
So you're saying poor Venugopal Rao was sub-super, basically. Anything less than super.
He was suboptimal. But that rule was so badly conceived, right? Like, it basically was
It was a toss-based rule.
It was a toss-based rule, right? You would have to go in assuming that, if I lose the toss, then I'll bring it. So, basically, it wasn't very well thought of, and which is why it
So
very fast.
if you lost the toss and you nominated someone, I mean, you had to nominate someone before the toss, you make a wrong call on the toss, your super sub is actually wasted. So that was actually 12 versus 11 in some sense.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't think of that. Yeah.
No, maybe they should do this for these kinds of day-night tournaments where like dew is a big factor, for example. Give the impact sub only to the team that loses the toss. And then try to even out the effect of that sort of thing. Maybe just give it to the team that's bowling second.
Yeah, or why can't you just be allowed to announce your 11 after the toss is determined?
Yeah, I never understood this, right? There is some sheet that gets exchanged by the captains. Like, if I were a captain, I would have a sheet with some names and I'll strike it out.
No. This is like, okay, sorry.
The toss happens half an hour before the match, right? You have
guys,
enough time to...
Okay, I take exception with Nitin's, this is just a sheet of paper. This is the most British of English games. This is like the whole... So do you guys know the whole historical thing of why Britain went to war in World War II? time for a 1-minute history lesson, right?
Interesting trivia about the British Empire.
Interesting trivia about World War II. No, this is a real
Or
thing.
they didn't like Germany's 11.
No, so this is
They
a real.
didn't give the sheets.
So this is a real thing,
Archduke
right? So
Francis Ferdinand was killed.
that is not World War II. That is World
that
War
is
I.
World War I.
Anyway,
Oh,
You are-
sorry, that is
you-
before Super Sub.
go to the back of the class.
You made the
Outstanding
mistake of
podcast.
posing it as a question. Now we are going to take several shots before we let you answer. They put it on a fool's cap paper, and England thought they were calling them fools. So hence the war broke out.
Shabba.
They just wanted to show off baseball.
Yeah, I'd be
Okay,
surprised
cut.
if there was baseball at that time. But anyway, so the reason, the official reason, quote unquote, was Germany's violation of Belgium's neutrality, right? So the idea was that there was a neutrality pact where Belgium was supposed to be one of the buffer zones, right? And neither of the two sides were supposed to invade Belgium. And so obviously, the Germans invaded Belgium. And so apparently the German foreign minister went and asked his British or his English counterpart. He's like, "You're willing to go to peace over, go to war over a piece of paper?" And the minister was like, "Well, the piece of paper is, it is what it is. Like it carries the full weight of the thing." So anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that this is a nation, an empire that dragged the entire world into World War over a piece of paper. You can see why they wouldn't allow the changing of the team that has been exchanged by captains. So
Amazing. And this story inspired Leo Tolstoy so much that he wrote a book called War and Peace of Paper.
again, wrong century. Leo Tolstoy wrote this, the previous century.
This fellow is correcting my joke. What do I do with
Just
this?
in, like,
I'm in full
mode.
professor mode now.
Uncle
No, there's that great Salzman joke, right? Colonization was an excuse for the Brits to go around finding countries to play cricket in because they can't play it in their own country. Yeah, I see no change in the game, man. The thing is, you're adding one more, as it is, teams can't get their tactics right. You're adding one more thing to the syllabus, right? Now you have to also think, not only forget your 11, get your 11 right, but also need to have a backup in your, the 12th guy also is tactical. What is happening? People can't get their 11s right. People call the toss wrong. How is this going to help the game?
It's okay, da. You can say KL Rahul. You don't have to say people every time.
Kohli also managed to get the toss wrong at some point. He has chosen to chase when it was great to bat first, or he has taken two spinners when it's a green top in England. It's beyond KL Rahul, as much as I like to, as much as I love being on about it.
If you allow the team that loses the toss alone to have this advantage, I think most teams will say, please, I don't want the toss. I want to lose the toss. Toss fixing will start happening. Give me 12 players. I don't want toss at all. 8, hit the table, spin again.
People will fling the coin far away.
Kraus, I want you to finish this sentence. As much as I blank to what KL Rahul? The
As much as
4-letter word you're looking for is not sexy.
Going by how we have jinxed every single thing, this is probably going to be the thing that saves the game. How it saves the game, I don't know, but I see no point. You want to introduce, you introduce. As it is, captains screw this up all the time. Then I don't know how this is going to help.
It's nice, no? I mean, just do
Yeah.
these random things in SMAT or one of these things. So maybe if a little bit more interest gets generated and people watch, why not? And if it is actually making a difference, put it in one format of one version of the IPL and then take it out. Anyway, we'll have 2 IPLs in the year soon. So why not? Try it out.
No, I agree with Tony. It's one of those things where, in general, my response to anything new being tried out is, yes, go for it. You'll have new trivia, you'll have new interesting stuff happening, and maybe it'll fail like the Super Sub thing, but if it does well, you'll have this as a whole new area of tactics for captains and coaches to contend with. And they're only trying it in SMAT, so you can't even say that they tried something in a very high profile tournament which changed the equation completely. So I think the Super Sub rule, when the ICC brought it out, I think Gavaskar was the head of the cricket committee. They basically wanted
No wonder. Okay, yeah. Enough said. Go on.
Yeah, they basically wanted more all-rounders to be nominated as Super Subs. But what ended up happening is you just tried your luck with either one more batter or one more bowler, and then if you lost the toss, you basically lost the super sub tactic as well. So I think with
What
this
was
one,
Venugopal Rao? He was batter, is it? Hitter.
He was
all-rounder.
super.
What is he?
he's an all-rounder, bad in both things.
Subpar sub.
Poor guy used to come in at number 3 and get bowled by Yorkers every time. At least twice I remember him getting ducks after coming in as super sub.
Maybe now that you have 4 people who can be nominated, teams will probably, use it in a much less cynical way. Let's hope so.
Soup or sub sounds like a Subway commercial. Soup or sub.
Foot long. So I actually think this is Galaxy Brain by BCCI because India's problem is that they have multiple teams and massive bench strength, but they're not able to find their best 11, right? So if you make it a 12 versus 12 game, it's advantage India because you get, and eventually they'll make it 22 versus 22 Royal Rumble. Anything is possible. By the way, Choparno said something which when Mohan listens to this podcast is going to make him very angry. He said, it's not like they're trialing this in some high profile tournament like the IPL. This is what he meant.
In SMAT, BBL and all, you can try low profile tournaments basically.
I think maybe they should try this in the 100. Going by what Srinath and Rachna were saying, right? They don't even use the names of the players. It's just numbers. Nobody knows who's on the field anyway. So super sub doesn't matter. People just keep coming in and out. It doesn't matter if it's 11 players, 20 players, 30 players. Who cares?
Ultimately, people watch the game for watching players playing. I mean, not the coaches coaching. This is more like the Bob Woolmer kind of, or football even kind of, coaching where tactics almost take away from what's happening on the field. But I mean, we're anyway going in that direction with, coaches and team staff putting out random codes on the balcony saying what the captain has to do next. So I mean, this is just one more step in that direction. But at least, I mean, someone else gets a game because of this, or half a game because of.
So what I find most interesting about this rule is the way it has been worded. The player can replace any member before the end of the 14th over of either innings. What does that even mean? It just means before the 34th over, right? Or are they saying you can't you can't do it between the 14th and 20th over?
Per innings, no. Let's say you're 45 for 9 or something.
36 for 9.
36 for 9.
Okay. 36 for 9, and you have Bradman in as your number 12, who will then come and smash 200.
No, but which Bradman? Bradman is first test or Bradman is last test?
Okay, someone please explain what the verbiage means.
In either innings, that's all.
It's in either innings. So, like if you are 14 overs into the first innings, the batting or the bowling team can decide who to sub out. But once that sub is used, that's it. You can't do more than that. If they've not used it until then in the next innings, until the 14th over, they have another chance.
Yeah,
no, 15 to 20 is frozen, that's all. 15 to 20 is frozen in both innings.
Then it is okay. That makes a little more sense.
Next episode, we'll explain some board game rules also.
Impact players of Catan.
Never Seattlers of Catan.
No, it's right there, guys. Impact sub is basically battleship.
Oh, Galactica you're doing. Okay. Moving on to the
other rule changes. Saurav Ganguly and Jay Shah are now firmly been reinstated.
What does this mean, guys?
Those are not rule changes, That's just like what did they have? A TDS or something?
Rule continuation.
Yeah, they had TDS, no? They're like, if you're cheating on your income tax, it's okay. We'll just rationalize it. We'll just regularize it. That's all. It's like that.
If you suddenly start complying, we'll find out that you used to cheat.
Instead of rule changes, it's roles unchanged.
He's become so much admin that he doesn't even participate in Legend series and all. Even there, he's sitting outside and watching only. He'll only play if Jay Shah is also playing.
But what happened actually? I read some headlines, but I'm not very clear. It seems like Jay Shah can be president also, or something. Yeah,
the Supreme Court basically removed the tenure limit or the term limit on
cooling off period.
No. Basically, this is all interpretation, right? So the original law had tenure limits. These guys coolly interpret as 10-year limit. So for 10 years at least.
10-year limit. Yeah. But now, is there a limit at all, or it's just that it's been moved from 3 years to 6 years? Nobody knows. It's okay.
I think in India, if you ask about Jay Shah's limits, you land in the L hospital through.
No, now basically the impact sub was not made. 14 overs have passed, so now no changes can be made. They will continue to remain.
All of this was like just a passing phase to make sure that Rahul Kal actually. Jay Shah gets into the board and gets into the board at a senior position. Ganguly is now going to take over at the ICC as whatever chairman, president, CEO. And Jay Shah will be the main man. That was the plan all along, and that's been done quite well. So even the fact that the CEO had to come in and the CEO had to go out and someone took the matter to the Supreme Court, all of this was basically part of a long game plan, is the conspiracy theory.
Someone please go check on poor Ram Guha. He's going to be writing another long book to get over all this.
India after 14th over.
Intro sorted.
Too good.
So let's talk about Indian fast bowling, guys. So as we know, lots of injuries and lots of pell-mell happening with the selections and all. I want to narrate an interesting anecdote that I experienced a few days back in Dubai. So this was during the Asia Cup. So one fine morning, me and my wife Shruti, right, we went down to drop off our son at his school bus. And this was early in the morning, right, around 7 a.m. types. Right, so we dropped him and we were coming back up the building, and there is like an apart hotel or a serviced apartment complex close to our building, right? So at the top of the staircase, we saw this guy who was wearing a hoodie with the hood sort of pulled over his head, and we first saw the back of his hoodie, right? It was branded Coach, 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 and then he turned around and it was Deepak Chahar. Right at the top of the building, he was standing there and he was limbering up. Right, it was like he was going for a walk or something. We figured, okay, yeah, there are a lot of Indians in Dubai, and you don't. If you're a celebrity, you would rather maintain a low profile, even if you're Deepak Chahar. So I explained to myself, maybe that's why he's pulled on his hoodie, etc. But I was like, wow, Asia Cup was going on, and this was before he was drafted into the squad, right? So he was. But I thought, okay, India's brought the entire contingent, and maybe some of the players are just hanging out in Dubai, in case they need it, they'll get drafted into the squad later, right? So I thought, okay, very cool. So we walked past, I was cool and everything. I did not want to ask for selfie or autograph, whatever.
Or ask him, sir, which Chahar are you, Deepak or Rahul?
I am the chairman of the BCCI. No.
But then he came up to you and said, Natil evideya.
So we walked past, right, very coolly. And then I told my wife, you know what, I actually want to go and say hi to him, because it's very unusual that you'll just be walking along and you bloody bump into an Indian cricketer, right? So he had again turned around, right, and he was looking towards the street. So the hoodie was on with the Coach, hoodie, and you could see the brand. And I said, just wait a minute, I'll just go say hi and come. So I walked back towards him. And as I reached, and I was coming from behind the shoulder over to the front side, he suddenly turned and looked at me. And yes, who is this? It was not even an Indian man. He was a Spanish guy or something who looked exactly like Deepak Chahar. Same height, same face, same beard, just maybe a couple of shades fairer, but the moment he spoke, I knew it's not Deepak Chahar. He was like, okay, because this guy had already noticed me sort of giving him, looking at him a bit, and then I come back over, he was spooked, completely spooked. I was like, oops, sorry, you really resemble a close friend of mine. I mistook you for someone else, so sorry, yeah. Then I walked away. Anyway, a couple of days later, Deepak Chahar was actually drafted into the team. I don't know if he was actually in Dubai or not.
I think what happened is he realized that, oh fuck, this guy is coming behind me. He did a double take when Nitin went past him, saying, he looks like he might chase me down later. Alright. I think it's Deepak Chahar only. He just decided to, if I pretend to have an Irish accent at this point, then maybe Nitin will leave me alone.
It's very possible. He looked exactly like Chahar, man. It would have made the situation much weirder than it already was, but I should have actually asked him for a selfie and shared the picture with you guys. You would have been like, bloody hell, this has to be Deepak. He looked exactly like him. I'm not kidding. It's just
he probably had some something in his hoodie which played that, yes, who is this in a funny voice. Because this keeps happening to him.
Nitin's entire story is basically how this horrible IPL auction last year went. It's like, I swear it was Deepak Chahar, and then they bid on him and then they buy him. It's like they don't even know who they're buying.
But, this is an interesting anecdote from 2008 IPL auction.
Oh God.
Which is partly anecdotal and I think actually made up, but it is funny. So apparently Vijay Mallya was at the RCB auction. They very badly wanted to get Abdul Razak and they ended up getting Abdul Razak from Bangladesh instead because they were not sure. I think it is a made up anecdote, but
It's okay now. When cricket journalists themselves can't differentiate Khalid Mashood and Khalid Mahmood, we are okay. It's fine.
And
Khalid Masood and Khalid
Dickwella and De Silva. Do you remember that?
oh yeah.
That is a good one.
Do we all look the same to you? No, sorry, different.
I am Dickwella. That was De Silva.
All gorillas in the mist. Disilvas in the mist.
No, but like, will this be filed under interesting anecdote about Deepak Chahar? Like or is this like we need to know for like future podcasts need to know what is this going to be flat under.
No, but Macha, the way you said who is this, it could well have been a Rajasthani accent, so maybe it was Chahar all along.
I don't know, man. Maybe it's possible that his hairdo was very different, and if the hoodie was not on, I might not have got confused. But yeah, so it goes. Didn't get to see his hair. Anyway, I was quite embarrassed at the end of it all. So let's talk about Indian fast bowling, guys. That was the peg on So there is a Titan Cup that is happening, which is India are playing Australia in some T20s, followed by South Africa in a few more T20s.
Titan Cup.
No, we are calling it the Titan Cup.
It's a deconstructed Titan Cup.
No, we call this the Apple Watch Cup, no? Like changing with the times. Explain this to me. Shami is not in the World Cup squad, but he's been picked for the Australia T20s. God knows why.
No,
And he's got
so
COVID.
the World Cup squad
And he's out now.
is like a larger than required squad. You can
And he's not in
shorten
it.
down. You can bring in
No,
new
he
players
is.
also.
He's a reserve player. He's a reserve
Oh,
player.
Shami is a reserve player. Okay.
Yeah.
Got
Yeah,
it.
and Shami has not had match time since the England tour, so he skipped the Asia Cup, right? So basically,
He didn't skip
giving
the
him a
Asia Cup.
run
The
here.
Asia Cup skipped him.
Fair, but basically he's going to be given a run here, and he got.
But
the
not-
thing
no,
is
but
now,
He's got COVID. He's out.
he'll be out for a couple of games max. He's going to play in the next series in any case, like, or at least the last. I feel he will play the last ODI or last T20I of the series.
Or he'll play the South Africa leg of the Titan Cup.
All of this brings us to the interesting question: when is the World Cup? Like, we've been talking about the World
In a
Cup.
month,
Yeah.
in a month, less than a month.
Yeah.
I know.
Okay. October.
Yeah, but there is a
Yeah.
bit of a half-life period leading up to the World Cup. Like you think, okay, now all these games are over, now the World Cup is going to come, but suddenly there is one more series. Then that series ends, like, okay, now World Cup will come. There are two more series that get scheduled. Teams are playing. Last day before the World Cup also, I think Umesh Yadav will be playing something somewhere. But yeah.
Yeah. And after that, England and South Africa will finally play their third test.
I've trained my mind almost to not worry about squad selection and team selection because it'll always be something that'll be terrible, but it just doesn't make sense. Like every single person with half a brain knows that Shami is not cut out for T20s. Given whatever the numbers say and whatever his stats say, but they just keep picking him. And now Umesh Yadav has been picked, who's been good in one IPL, I know, but other than that, there are so many other guys who've been good for quite longer and who can play different roles in the bowling lineup. But
They wanted to pick Mohammad Siraj and instead pick Mohammad Shami.
Oh.
It just said, the sheet just said Mohammad S.
yeah, it's terrible in how they pick squads, and I think the only good thing is that we are playing enough T20s, so some of those things which we saw not working in the Asia Cup might get sorted out. But it's again, a very different set of pitches when compared to what we'll get in Australia. So yeah, I don't know how we'll be able to do much unless Thomas Cook gives some discount on early travel to Australia and we can go and practice there a little bit.
I think it's like Douglas Adams said, right? The whole world is a simulation and we are all a simulation in Jamie Sir's big experimental simulation of trying to figure out what is the best 11 for India.
No, I want to ask: is the India versus South Africa series also in Australia, or are they like
India.
traveling somewhere else for that?
India. Both are in India.
Titan
India
Cup,
versus
dude. It's
Australia
proper
is
Titan
also
Cup.
in India.
It is a Titan
someone
Cup.
That's how
saying
Titan Cup, no?
No, but like people were saying, India is going way ahead to Australia to prepare for the conditions.
They will
and
send
all
the
that,
test
so-
team.
Maybe VVS Lakshman is already there. along
No,
with
all the impact players are going.
Impact players.
They have to go before the 14th over. But there is also a prediction that the weather in Australia for the World Cup is not going to be good. The La Nina apparently is going to be in effect. And I don't know enough meteorologically, so this is where cartographer can come and educate us about
No, they were saying something about everything is going to be a washout, right? They were like, if we see
Yeah.
15 balls of this World Cup bowled, then it will
Apparently.
be a miracle.
At the end of it, someone will have to do 22 runs of one ball or something.
Correct.
then.
So basically, it doesn't matter what squad you send as long as you send Messrs. Duckworth, Lewis, and whoever the S is.
Stern.
Stern.
Siraj or Shami?
Mohammad S.
Just or Douglas Lewis show up with a towel for all the rain. Right.
Yeah, that's it.
Randomness. Okay.
That was not rain.
That's
right?
the-
It was Brian McMillan's tears. It was not rain.
In Seattle, it is rainier than it is in Australia.
Oh God.
The super sub will be the super sopper.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Yeah. We are sponging all the bad jokes. Yeah. We should expunge them.
Now I'm just thinking, will you need like statisticians and mathematicians to actually finish the game instead of like 11 versus
Book
11
cricket.
fit?
Book
Yeah,
cricket.
just play book cricket and get it over with.
That's why the jersey is important. I think they'll have to go by who wore it best types.
How?
No. They will point, if the sky is this color, then we will play. Like, it is getting-
Mera wala pink.
I'm just thinking, how would you like to be the guy who gets subbed out in a game of book cricket? It's like, how bad do you have to be to get subbed out in a book
Oh my
cricket?
God.
No, I think it matters which book you bring in then, not like how you play.
Hey, talking of bookies and cricket, today is the anniversary of Saurav Ganguly's epic 5 for 16 at Toronto.
Yes.
And
Oh boy.
Sahara Cup,
Ramesh
yeah. I
Raja
was
plays
watching-
a lofted off drive and gets caught at mid off. That I remember very well.
Yeah, I was watching that match and like, I don't know, everything seems fixed.
Yeah, either Ijaz or Salim tries to hoik across the line and they edge back to Mongia or something. I'm vaguely remembering.
Yeah, calmly picks up a catch at deep fine. Like,
And he shoots the ball.
yeah, everything seems fixed. Like, it's just bizarre how they got out to that kind of bowling. And I mean, India ended up winning, which is great. But yeah, it's just terrible to watch now 90s cricket.
Moment of silence.
Moment of silence for 90s cricket. But Sahara Cup was probably the last ODI tournament that featured whites, no?
No.
No, whites were there for much longer.
India played. So actually, the last time India played in whites was against Zimbabwe at
Zimbabwe.
home
Yeah.
in 2000 or 2001. I think it was the
Yeah, that was the series in which Zahir hit 5 sixes of a longer in the last over.
Yeah. I think it was
4
2002
sixes.
maybe.
Correct. Maybe, yeah. That's the series in which Sehwag, I think, made his debut. But
Oh,
yeah.
the same one in which Merilier did his.
No,
his,
Merilier was in colours.
the
That
scoop
was a
was
little
in
later. I think that was 2003. Yeah.
In 1994, West Indies and New Zealand were the two touring teams to India. And we had a bilateral ODI series going on at the same time as a tri-series between India, West Indies, New Zealand. At the same time as a test series between India and West Indies. And the bilateral series was played in whites. ODI series, it was played in whites.
Correct.
Who was the
Correct.
bilateral against?
India versus New Zealand, I remember, if I remember correctly, or India versus West Indies.
West Indies. India versus West Indies.
Wait, they were in a bilateral series and also a trilateral with the
Yeah. And a test series.
At the same
And
time.
a test series.
Basically, these were not multiple teams, okay? This is just like brackets were open, right? So they didn't finish the test series. They started some one-day series in the middle and, in fact, another one-day series, like nested brackets format, basically. It was the same player.
Bilateral was played in whites and the trilateral was played in color. Ball color was also different and think this was also the year in which Karnataka beat New Zealand in a first class game or something. So yeah,
Obviously,
bizarre.
New Zealand didn't know what they're playing, who they're playing. Confused, discombobulate your opponents, they lose to anyone.
Too much lateral movement was happening.
Talking of New Zealand being confused by domestic teams from India, we have an India A versus New Zealand A series that is coming up, and Sanju Samson has been named the captain of the India A team. And as I narrate this, Tony Sebastian's face has transformed into the most beautiful smile anybody could ever see. So, Tony, tell us about what you expect from Sanju in this series.
First of all, I didn't even know that New Zealand had enough cricketers to have an A team.
You mean you didn't know New Zealand has enough nice guys to form an A team as well?
Exactly. Yeah, but apparently this is happening. So there is 3 matches in which Sanju Samson will be captain. I think there's also some test that is already ongoing in which Ruturaj has hit 190 or something against New Zealand A as we speak. So basically anyone who's not made the larger reserve list of whatever it is. Sanju is basically being groomed to be an ODI player now, it seems. I don't know.
He's the new Shikhar
Dhawan. The format itself is going away, so it's like jinxing one full format. But yeah, we'll report on it as and when the match happens and the scorecard becomes available for us to make sense of it.
Yeah, the only thing I wanted to say is, Tony, please do not watch this young Kerala batsman called Rohan Kunnumal, who's also from Kerala, scoring... No, Rohan Kunnumal. Robin?
Oh, okay.
Oh, Kunnumal. Kunnumal is the operative word. But he's scoring absolute run mountains right now, and once you start watching him, I think his fate will be similar to Samson, so please don't watch him.
Yeah, sorry, Rohan Kunnumal. You're right.
Yeah, until now, Tony was getting the name wrong, so he was protected from the jinx. But unfortunately, the guy's fate is going to turn now.
Well, it's not Robin Kunnumal, but there is one Robin we need to talk about today.
And that's why he's the flavor of the month at the moment. Down south, it's not an idli. It's not a dosa. It's not a medu vada. It's not a rava dosa. It is a Uthappa, 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 Uthappa.
Yo, Robin Uthappa has announced his retirement from all forms of BCCI cricket, India cricket. What is it? I think he'll continue to play some other.
I thought you were going to do a bait and switch with a Roger Federer retirement intro.
But enough about Roger Federer.
Yeah.
Fond memories of Robin Uthappa. I think the post that he put out had the picture of him bowing after bowling the bowl out ball. Great timing. He announced his retirement on the anniversary of that famous bowl out.
But his most iconic moment is from the same year. Wasn't he the one who Dwayne Leverrock caught?
Oh yes, of course.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was.
Nice. Yeah.
2007 was the different World Cup.
Yeah. Same year, different World Cup, different.
Oh, and he also had that brilliant innings in England, right? In the game where Dimitri Mascarenhas hit Yuvraj for 5 sixes. So India then won the match thanks to Uthappa in the end overs. And I think Michael Atherton on air got very excited and said, Uthappa, he's the guy, or some shit like that. Yeah. But
I think my favorite memory of Uthappa is the 2007 T20 World Cup games against Australia.
Yeah.
I think one that was just like a blockbuster innings in the sense that he really came out and went all guns blazing, got run out to an absolute monster of a direct hit from Andrew Simons at cover or something. But yeah, I mean, the way he smashed Brett Lee all around the park was quite something to watch. And I think he was one of the first Indian guys who regularly used the tactic of going down the track and hitting even short length, good length balls down the ground with a cross bat. So yeah, I mean, on days when he was good, he was fascinating to watch. But yeah, I mean, never someone who was anywhere close to realizing his potential completely. And yeah, I mean, I'm very glad that there are these multiple T20 leagues around, which are going to be good for guys like him who probably could have benefited from a longer run, more faith in him at the top level. But yeah, I mean, good career, and I mean, I wish him all the best.
There was a crazy IPL, I think it was 2014 or something, in which he hit 7 consecutive 50s or something, right? And I think KKR won that.
He was the batter of the tournament.
Robin the Batman.
Batman and Robin. Yes.
Well played.
Yeah, he came in with a huge reputation as, someone who was an attacking batsman. And that wasn't the norm at all at that time, like people coming in at the top of the order. I remember his debut for India. It was against England. India had already won a bilateral one-day series at home, and I think this was a dead rubber. And he scored 80 odd. He was well on track to get 100 on debut, but he got run out, and he got run out by being lazy. Okay, so he basically didn't ground his bat, and direct hit came and caught him napping basically, and he got run out, right? And 3 games later, he actually got dropped, I think, after a couple of games. And then in his 4th ODI, which was also in that season just before the World Cup, he scored a 40-ball 70 against West Indies, which also was a very, very memorable knock. He was opening the innings for India in that. That's what got him to the World Cup as the opener. And yeah, he was famously caught by Dwayne Leverock in that game. He's the only batsman who didn't make runs in that game. Then, but yeah, continued to be in the frame, played the T20 World Cup very successfully. But he faded away because apparently the Indian team at that time were looking for more, players with multiple skills, basically all-rounders. So Suresh Raina got ahead of the queue, and Robin Uthappa wasn't, Dhoni at least did not consider him a player who could bowl, though he did try to do a little bit of off-spin, and he could, of course, keep wicket. A lot of this has come out recently, right? Like Uthappa has done a very interesting podcast discussion with Siddharth Monga on Cricinfo, where he's spoken about his time out of the team and the toll it took on his mental health, etc. And he had a lot of difficulties at home. Apparently, his parents were not getting along with each other, and he had a lot of initial success, World Cup victory so early in his life, etc. And then the crash came where he got dropped, and apparently he was close to suicidal in 2009 during the South Africa IPL, and there was a moment where he was considering jumping out of the window of the hotel where they were staying in South Africa, and he got shunted from Mumbai Indians to RCB, which he saw as a huge a letdown from a team which he felt very emotionally invested in, etc. So a lot of effort to come back from there, reinvent himself as a finisher from being a top order player. Did really well for RCB as a finisher. Then reinvented himself again with Praveen Amre, came back as an opener for KKR. Made his way back into the Indian team, right? He was the non-striker when Rohit Sharma got his 200 against Sri Lanka. You thought that was the last you would see of him, and then shows up at CSK and plays a couple of blinders to win them the tournament a couple of years back. So yeah, he's had a very interesting career, right? Some would say he didn't realize the potential he had, but I'm actually still glad that he got to do everything he did. And thanks to the IPL, I would say that it gave him the opportunity to have that run.
There's a nice 2-part 22 yarns with Gaurav Kapoor where he discusses a lot of this in detail. I think just before he got into CSK, where he also has that interesting anecdote with MS Dhoni about the runways and all of that. But I still fondly, I think it was during the KKR season where at the boundary line he'd be like throwing around a medicine ball and practicing. Like basically a massive explosive hit. It was just so nice to watch him time the ball, like such a powerful hitter.
Also was India's opening batsman along with Tendulkar in the CB series, right? Also back in 2007, 2008. Couple of very, very good partnerships with Tendulkar, including in the second final. Plenty of good memories, and good luck to Robin Uthappa. Wonderful commentator and analyst, someone who adds a lot of color and value on air. That's not something you can say for most of his colleagues doing commentary. So we look forward to hearing Robin on air.
I think it was when he was inducted into Rajasthan in one of these recent IPLs. Before the season starts, I mean, it's very difficult sometimes to distinguish between the real person and the person that comes on camera in these social media content pieces that teams regularly churn out. But there was something that came out, when before the season started for Rajasthan Royals, and that was his first year. And he was like a seasoned hand, right? I mean, he had been across the world, various teams, etc. And he made like a longish speech at the Nets one day, before the Nets or after the Nets one day, about what this season means to him and what it could probably mean to the young guys in RR, because they've always traditionally had a young team, and which came across, at least to me, as very, very heartfelt. And I mean, someone who has a lot of sadness in him about how things have gone for him, but at least, I mean, there's still some hope to go about what things can bring. So if you've lived in the era in which he played, you'll always find something nice and find something nostalgic to talk about him. And I mean, every generation probably has guys like him. But I mean, if you're someone who's born even 5 years later, you'd just look at the numbers, just look at the record and say that, I mean, he's a nobody in the larger scheme of things. But for us who sort of watched the rise and fall and rise of Uthappa, it'll be something special.
Nicely said. Yeah, I fully agree.
He was a hitter, not a batter.
And
Yes. I don't think anyone confused him for a batter.
We all know that when batters rise, Uthappa is what results.
Oh!
I think we have peaked. It is the absolute apex.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
For a week when there was no cricketing action, we spent quite a lot of time talking about everything from bowlers to batters to Uthappa to impact players to jerseys and whatnot. It is time then to call time on episode 37 of Bits and Pieces. It's been great fun bringing this episode to you. Say bye, guys. Tony, Kart, Abhishek, and Kaus, who has left us.
Kaus was left because you didn't have an intro for it.
Yeah. We don't have an outro either because he left. Yeah.
Or an impact sub for him. But yeah.
I think with episode 37 happening, this podcast has entered its prime.
Oof.
Yeah. Oh, man.
What a composite joke. Yeah. As we all cringe at that wonderful pun from Chopper Nose, it's time to say bye. Please share.
Yes. Please share news about cricket. We don't really keep track of it.
And please share this podcast with your friends and get them to listen. Please leave us a rating, only good ratings, as Tony has clarified in the past, wherever you listen to podcasts. And shout outs to all our regular listeners who continue to keep this quite interesting and exciting for all of us.
Yeah. And if you have answers to the questions which Kart asked, please send them on a sheet of paper. Very formally written. Yeah, foolscap paper.
Foolscap paper, actually.
Yes, and we will read them out in full in the next episode of Bits and Pieces. Until then, see you all. Have a great week. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.